Welcome back to the Relationship Whisperer Show with Miss Dragonfly, where we discuss all things relationships with the aim to make marriage great again. And as usual, for those that are not familiar with the show, I cover astrology as well as relationship. I am an astrologer as well as a relationship expert. And so my program usually would be looking at someone's chart, a famous person's chart, looking at and doing an astrology reading on their chart, someone that's in the news, or even celebrity couples as well. So, and then I will be giving relationship advice or going through news and articles relating to relationships, and with the aim, of course, to make marriage great again. So, in today, we have someone that's is very well known, but been a little out of the news at the moment. And this person is a very famous pop star, though not a conventional pop star. And the means is in terms of normally her size. And that is Adele. Okay, her actual name is Adele Adkins, but she's known all around the world as just Adele. So I'll be looking at her chart, and I will be discussing a very important issue in regards to relationships at the moment. And as you know, before I discussed about feminism, well, I also had to look at the other side, or what the men have said feminism has given birth to, and that is the MGTOW movement. And for those that are not familiar with what MGTOW means, it's short and stands for men going their own way. Basically, men that are sworn off women. Well, not being monks, they're not going to be monks, but really sworn off marriage and committed relationships. But in the first things first, we would be going through Adele's astrology chart. Now, Adele, as almost everyone has heard of her, is an English pop star, and besides her beautiful voice, she's also known, well, for the other things of her size. Now, she has lost quite a bit of weight in the last few years, but throughout the majority of her career, she has been a larger woman. And in terms of the entertainment industry, and particularly for someone young, I mean, she's still in her 30s, that is actually quite unusual for someone to be that famous and also that larger size. Well, I wouldn't say that larger size, but unconventional size for that industry. And yes, she has taken quite a bit of flack over the years for her size. Nothing that people can do. Well, yes, people can do something about their size, which is what she's done. But in terms of being a musician and a singer, I would say being a larger person does not preclude you from being a good singer. So should not have been attacked and criticized for that. Did not affect her singing ability whatsoever. I mean, she's not a model, and she's not trying to break into a model or pretend to be a model, where you judge that profession is basically all about your looks and your appearance, and how well you do as a model depends on how good you look. But that's not the profession that she was in. She was as a singer, and so she should have been judged on how well her singing ability is. I guess just like Susan Boyle. And if anyone remembers Susan Boyle, I don't know, it must have been like 10 years ago or so forth, and she was on I think Britain's Got Talent, one of those talent shows. And when she came on stage, everyone basically laughed at her. Well, wouldn't say laugh, but did not take her seriously. She looked like a dumpy older woman with liking a bit too many hamburgers. And that's the image that people took away when they looked at her. And she was just basically dismissed and not taken seriously until she opened her mouth and started singing. And then that's when everyone heard the magic. And now her looks are basically a distinguishable thing, being looking like that, but also being able to sing very well. That's what got she started. But then after she got her fame and I guess some money, she did herself up, which I don't know whether or not that was a good thing, because it really took away the one thing that made her different and in that way special. But anyway, we are looking at Adele's chart today. And Adele, well, she basically burst onto the scene and did pretty well for herself. And then, of all things, she's kind of like faded a bit now into the background. I mean, when I say faded, we haven't heard much from her lately in terms of any singles or awards or sort of thing. She said she lost weight, and was on the news for that she's lost. Adele's lost so much weight and so forth. This is her new look, and I have to say she looks a lot different now after losing weight. And and then she seemed to have faded a bit, but I thought it would be very interesting to have a look at her chart. And now Adele's chart. Adele, and the publicly date of birth I have for her is she was born on the 5th of January 1988, and her time of birth was at 8:19. Now, from this we can form her 4 pillars, and her year pillar is Yin Fire Rabbit. Her month pillar is Yang Water Rat. Her day pillar is Yin Earth Goat, and her hour pillar is Yang Metal Horse. Now, she doesn't really have combinations in her own chart, not really. There is a combination between her horse and goat only, but they don't really produce elements, so to speak. And the rabbit and the goat wants to combine for wood, but they are separated by the rat. So what you can say is that she has a changing chart. Now, a changing chart are those charts where they don't have a particular pattern as it is, and they can change according to the luck cycle that they go into, or the year that they are in. And so they might be output during one year or follow wealth another year or so forth. Depends on the zodiac of that year, the sign of that year, and that would combine with what they have, and to produce an element. Okay, and those charts are typically what you see amongst actors, comedians, basically performers, like what Adele is. She's a singer. And the reason why those people tend to be like that is because of the nature of their jobs. I mean, with a changing chart, there can be something one day or this year and something else another year, and that really fits in with an actor. So particularly anyone with a changing chart, will advise them to go into those type of professions because that really suits them. And that's what works. And Adele, I guess, yeah, she's doing pop, but singing different type of music, have to come up with different things. I don't know if she actually writes her own songs, I think or she's just a singer. But then even if she did not write those songs, then she's still having to perform different songs. So I guess it does fit in with her chart. Okay, so she has a changing chart. So we'll have a look at her luck cycles. Those luck cycles are these 10-year blocks of your life. Now, in her current luck cycle, she is in Yang Fire Dragon. Okay, Yang Fire Dragon. And now the dragon combines with a rat, and especially this year is the dragon as well. So that combines with the rat to produce water. Okay. And so what does that mean? That means that's money for her. She's following wealth. So I follow the money luck cycle at the moment. Now, looking at her chart, her yang water combines with the yin fire on her year pillar. And that produces wood. Now the yin earth produces the yang metal, as earth produces metal, and that produces and metal is power. It is power to her. And so with that, from a chart, we can tell that she prefers to keep her talents hidden. Okay. Well, we all know about her talent now, but I guess she's capable of other things as well that we may not know of. So that tells us that the person prefers to keep their talents hidden. And then next she's got her horse combines with the goat. And that's what it kind of like leans towards, liking resource. Okay, and resource for her would be fire, because fire produces earth. Especially with snake next year. Next year in 2025 would be year of the snake, and the snake brings fire as well. So that you've got the snake being fire in nature, along with the horse, which is very fire. So next year she'll change into a resource chart. That's another change. However, next year the snake is going to have cause another problem, because that's going to produce fire. However, at the moment, with her dragon luck cycle combining with her rat on her day, her career, that produces water. So then she's going to have a split. Okay, be split in between fame, I guess, and work. So one half of the chart is water, and the other half of the chart is fire. So you can see the clash there, and it's split. And one half of the chart is about your outside, and the other half of the chart is regarding the inside and the home. So, and the rat and the rabbit, rat she has on her month, and the rabbit she has on her year, it is a penalty. They don't particularly like each other. So what that means is she's going to have ups and downs with her career, meaning the rat right on your career and the rabbit on the outside. And her career is basically public. You know, everything out there is public. We release things to the public. That's her career. But if those two don't like each other, then you kind of have an issue. So that's why her careers tend to be up and down, because of that reason. And now, the period in 1998, okay, to 08, it activates, that period of 98, that is her Yang Wood Tiger period. And that period gives loads of power, okay, and drains and controls money. So it's a very good period, you know, with the tiger and the horse combining there. So it brings up support and stability. So in that period before 98, combining with the horse, and the horse being the hour, what's in your inside and what's, I guess, your home. So that provided stability. Now her present luck cycle is Yang Fire Dragon. And Yang Fire Dragon at the moment currently supports both the horse and the goat with the fire. So the Yang Fire can stand in for the snake. Okay, so, you know, difficulties with talent due to the Yang metal and Yang Fire clashing. So I guess that's the kind of reason why she's kind of like been a little quiet. Now, dragon plus the rat. Dragon, it is complicated. They have a combination there, but you also have the rabbit and the goat in there trying to combine to produce wood as well. And then you've got goat and the horse combining as well. So that leads to, you've got water combinations, you've got wood combinations, and then you've got a fire combination. or stuff to do with fire then. So you've got water produces wood and produces fire. And so that looks like very exhausting. Lots of things happening with her chart. And so it's a lot to do. So she can use the flow to bring money back to her family, but she needs wood for sure. Okay? So because wood is, power to her. So, okay, let's look at what she's done before. Let's look at her career so far. In 2006, that's when she graduated from BRIT, which is like a performing arts school in Britain. And she also signed a record deal with XL Recordings. And that was during 2006. Yeah, that was during the Yangwood Tiger period. And so you've got a combination, a fire combination going there with the tiger and the horse there. And now 2008, this is when things really got started for her. Her debut album got released. Okay. And 2008, that's when she just went into her yin wood rabbit luck cycle. Okay. And so then what you have is you have the horse and the rat and yin wood rabbit fate cycle. Now that means a penalty was activated, and basically the rat and the rabbit doesn't like each other, and yang metal combined. Okay, yang metal combined with yin wood. So it's very good for a career, but I think something else bad happened that we don't know about, because they are pretty much penalties then. So on one hand, that's when her star started really shining, but I think something bad happened that we don't know about in her personal life. Now, 2011, we're still in that same Yinwood Rabbit luck cycle. She got a Grammy Award for Best New Artist. Okay, and that also was in Yin Metal Rabbit year. Another rabbit. She got, Best New Artist Award. Now, and the following year, 2012, which was a Yang Water Dragon year, she released Skyfall, the theme song for the Bond movie Skyfall. And that did pretty well. And then in 2015, we're still in that same Yinwood Rabbit luck cycle. Her third album was released and it was breaking first week record sales. So very well for her. And 2015 is the Yinwood Goat year. So a lot more wood, and wood for her is good. Wood for her is power. Now regarding her personal life, let's see. From what I found that at 2 years old, her father left. And so then she was brought up by her mother only, so as a single mom. So unfortunate for her. At that time, her luck cycle again was Yang Water Rat luck cycle. And and then after that, in the very next one in 1988, it was Yin Water Ox luck cycle. Now, Yin Water Ox clashes with her Yin Earth Goat. So the Yin Earth Goat, clashed with her luck cycle. And Yin Earth Goat, that was basically her in that time. And so it means that she didn't have a good childhood. And as we were saying, it wasn't very good for her, unfortunately. Moving around with her mother, moving from this place to another. So very unsettled childhood. And for children, they need stability. Really, it's when they're growing up, their foundation years, when the personality is forming and their thoughts and so forth. That's when it's so crucial for someone to become a well-balanced adult and to transition into adulthood more smoothly. Your childhood has to be good. It's so important. And she ended up doing very well for herself, but I think either it was out of his sheer will or even luck that happened, because, as you know, a lot of children with unstable childhoods don't get a good ride, so to speak, or at least an easy ride. So she's had a lot of success than most people would even dream of. So hats off to her being able to do that. Okay, now, still on her personal life, in 2011 is when she started a relationship with her now ex-husband, Simon Konecki. I guess that was with him. That was in 2011, and that was in Yin Metal Rabbit Year. And so that fits right in because it combined it with her house of spouse. The rabbit combines with the goat in her house of spouse. And so this is what usually happens. Whenever it's a combination, that's when a romance happens a lot of the times if you're looking. So that's what I say to people. If you're looking for someone, that's when one of the big times it's likely to happen. Either you meet someone then or you get married during that time. Okay, now the following year, 2012, her son was born. Yeah, she didn't waste any time then. And that year, that was a Yang Water Dragon year as well. She really does have a thing with the dragon. And the dragon combines with her yin fire. This is one thing. It combines with the yin fire, and yin fire is hidden in the horse. And the horse is on her child palace. Okay, and so that was activated. Yang metal produces the water that you have there. And so, yeah, we have it in the hour. So that pillar was activated, so she had a child. Okay, but, and this is the thing. It's not so obvious on her chart. I haven't had a look at her former husband and whether or not it might have activated during his. This is the thing. For a woman, it's not necessarily... So this is the thing. For a woman, normally what we say when they're likely to have children is when their children palace gets activated, or when they're going through a lot of output because a woman produces. However, that's not necessarily so straightforward all the time. Like in the case of Adele, it had to be a roundabout way. It could have come because of her then husband or her then partner's chart getting his child palace activated, and then she had the child. So that's why sometimes we need to look at both partners, especially if someone wanting a child and they are in a relationship and they want to do a reading, asking when they're likely to have one, and we'll have to look at both partners' charts to be sure. Okay, because it may not happen with yours, but it could be your partner's. That's happened. So it's a roundabout way, and your partner could confirm. So that's one thing. Now, because she's got dragon and rabbit combining, she can have a split. She can end up with work on one hand and family on the other. And so that could have been, she might have had a difficult pregnancy or difficult birth at that time as well. So not too easy for her. Yeah, now the rest of the timeline in her personal, at 2018, she married her then partner and the father of her son in 2018. And that was at the very start of this present luck cycle that she's in, Yang Fire Dragon. Okay, so it started of something new. And in 2021, they divorced. So it was only a 3-year marriage. And in 2021, that was the year of the ox, yin metal ox. Now, the ox clashes with the goat, and the goat is on her spouse palace. So they clash, so a divorce happens. And that is a common thing with clashes happening on the spouse palace, either a divorce or difficulties in your relationship during that year. And that's very common. That's one thing, but like I said, it's not always a hard and fast rule. And sometimes if people have the same thing on their house or spouse palace as on something next to it, the effects dissipate. Like if she also had a goat on her child palace, so right next to it, or the goat on her month pillar, the clash may not hit her spouse palace. It may hit the other one instead. Or because there's two, the effects get dissipated. So in circumstances like that, and people with those type of charts, an animal sign that comes along that clashes with the sign in your spouse palace may not mean spouse issues because of that. The energy either gets dissipated because there's multiple, or it gets redirected elsewhere. And that can happen as well. So when she got divorced, it was on the yin metal ox year. And the yin metal being output, it's also really not the right type of output for her. It was kind of like the wrong type. So maybe, she had some bad career decisions that she made as well, because, that clashes with her day master, which was yin earth. And this was yin metal, wrong type. So not too good at that time. Yeah. And I guess into 2021, think about it. We haven't really heard anything from her since that time. And I guess she's made some really bad career decisions in that year, in 2021, from looking at the clash against her day master, the yin metal, against her yin earth. So she's really taken pretty much a back seat now, and what we can say. And so now really it looks like, divisions between a career and a family, and it really seems like she's taken a step backwards, and unfortunately looking forwards to her doesn't seem to have too much more going on. So maybe, I wouldn't say her stars faded, but maybe she's considered, well, she's made enough money, she's got a son. What else does she need to do to prove herself? She doesn't need to prove herself anymore. And I guess she might have made this decision, that's all I need. That's all the fame I need. I've made and reached all the goals that I wanted to achieve. Like, she's won multiple Grammy Awards. What else is there for her? And she's only 36. She's lost a lot of weight. She's changed her appearance, I guess. And especially for women, once you get to a certain age, I guess when you're young, you're thinking, I want to achieve this and do that and so forth, prove to people what I can do. Though after a while, when you get more mature, and then thinking, hang on, do I really want to do that? There's got to be other things in life other than that. And so forth. And then that's when you have a lot of career women also, I need my own career, and I want this and that. And then they go into that, and it's basically, how I could say it, it's a bitch fight. Just like in the playground, where you have certain gangs, certain groups, and popular girls, popular and not so popular, and you maneuver this way, so forth. And it's just like the same in corporate. And I guess after a while, you get sick of it. And working 60-hour weeks, that sort of thing for a woman. And I know in some professions, in some places, they work every single day, 7 days a week, and so forth. And they might get a day off a month or something, and that would be such a big thing for them. I'm saying, what's there? What am I there for? What type of life is this? There's got to be more to life than this. Do I really want to do? Who am I satisfying? My bosses? How much? I'm making all this money, but I don't get a chance to enjoy it. So what am I doing it for? And have no family? And I guess that's also, you see a lot of women quitting their corporate careers and just want a family. And all this feminism that pushes, say, women have their career, we've got to get them. They're only rising to a certain level in management. And they're not going up to the echelon. They're not in the board of directors, on the board of being CEOs. Because to do all that, you have to put in so many hours and you have to continue with that intensity to be able to reach that. And women, by and large, have other priorities. Do I want to kill myself? Working 12-hour days to do that? For people that's not been in corporate, they don't know. And parents don't know. And career advisors would have no idea because they've never been in that environment. They can only state what the law says. This is what, these are your rights at work. This is how, and this is industrial relations for whatever body sets out the minimum wages and so forth. But when you're unsalaried and there's no such thing as overtime pay, and you work the extra hours voluntarily to please your masters in the hopes of getting a promotion, that you work harder than the rest of anyone else, so you get that promotion. And in the end, you might end up with a stress-related illness or so forth. And then what was all that about or all that for? So that's also a reason why I'm against quotas being put up. Because then you're trying to push people that to be there that don't really want to be there. That is a thing. And if you do kind of saying hire women or put women on the board just to fill in numbers and so forth, you put them. You're going to have the pick of the people that's not so qualified to do that, because the ones that really have done that are capable of thinking, I don't have anything else to prove. I know what it entails, but I don't want to continue doing this. And the women that are placed in by means of quotas end up saying, oh, it's not what I thought I signed up for. I'm leaving. Then it's not a surprise that they leave. Okay, it's not anything about women. There's nothing wrong with the ability of women to do the work. It's just women have different priorities. Not everyone wants to be a slave to the corporate. Not everyone wants to work 60, 100 hours a week just for something and come home to an empty apartment. Okay, or even she has kids. She would want to see her children. And they're saying about pushing for flexible hours and, childcare so women can continue with their careers. It doesn't work because at the end of the day, women want to spend a certain amount of time with their children rather than just give birth to them and then fling them and leave them to someone else to raise. You want to have a certain amount of hours, and that takes away from the job. There's only so many hours in a day, and how do you split it up? Something's got to give. And the people, the feminists and all these left progressives, they're pushing for women to do the same thing as men. I'm thinking, what for? You're trying to push them to do something they don't want to. What happened to freedom of choice? Giving women choices. And if what they choose happens not to fall into the narrative that you pick, so be it. Allow women to be happy. Okay, I thought that's what your original goal was. Have women be happy by giving them all these equal rights. And when they have these equal rights and equal choices, accept what they want to choose, their choices. Even if it has to be back in at home doing the cooking and cleaning. If that's what makes women happy, allow them to do that. If they want to be there fighting the good fight and try to climb the corporate ladder, good luck to them. Okay, support them if that's what they want to do, but also if they want to be at home and just look after and have a family life, be a full-time stay-at-home mum or a full-time wife at home, they should also be supported. Okay? And what I'll do, I'll go to some music and I'll have a look at the other side of the fence. I mean, we're covering women, but what about men? Okay, how do they play in this scheme of things, where we try to bridge the gap and bring men and women together to make marriage great again. And talking about making marriage great again, what are the blockers to it? Well, on the one hand, it is feminism, which I have covered somewhat. And basically, feminism is discouraging women from marriage. At least modern feminism, I should say. They are discouraging women from marriage by encouraging them to focus on their careers and think about themselves only, what would make them happy. Okay. And so, like I said, it's not conducive to a marriage because, one, marriage, you have to put others before yourself because you are part of a team. And so that becomes a direct clash with modern feminism. Now, on the other hand, what about the men? Okay, so the other thing that's pushed besides the feminism, basically feminism has given birth to something, a movement amongst men. And it's called MGTOW, which is short for men going their own way, if you've heard of MGTOW. So these two things are what's causing the divide between men and women and pushing them apart. One hand is feminism, and on the other hand, it is the MGTOW movement amongst men. And the MGTOW movement, you have to be honest, was birthed from the rise of modern feminism. And what does MGTOW do, and what is MGTOW all about? Well, MGTOW is basically men saying they want to go their own way. They don't want marriage or any relationships to do or anything much to do with women. Okay. It is basically about them, having their fun, no commitment, so they don't get burnt or anything. And they say basically women are more problem than they're worth. And it's come about, and the advice is mostly given by older men to younger men, by those that have been burnt by at least once by a bad divorce. Now, the law in a lot of Western countries at the moment is any divorce, basically, at least in Australia, the woman gets at least 70% of the assets, especially if they are children. Normally, they get the main house as well because, the children have to live there. And the children, they might have joint custody, but more often than not, the main custody remains with the mother, and the man has visitation rights. And I know that there's been a lot of women that have been playing the game where denying men access to their children, even though it's court ordered. And then by playing little games by saying, and when the father is supposed to come pick up the children, they've arranged something else for the children, or the children are off to a party somewhere or so forth, and so he can't see them that day. This is very underhanded. Okay, very mean-spirited, and I'll have to say evil to be deliberately doing that. Okay, just even morally, from a sense of what's right and wrong, if there's agreement in place like that, you should be sticking by that. And so I thoroughly understand the men's anger at that, at these little games being played, and being very, women using the children as leverage, actually to get more money or so forth, or child support, and that, look, if they brought the children in, by all rights, they should both be contributing, and the father should be contributing to the upbringing of their children, not being a deadbeat dad. That's also another thing, deadbeat dads, where they basically, wipe their hands of responsibility, and that's also a no-no. Brought them in, be a father. And if you agree to bring them in, then contribute to their raisings. But, however, I do understand these little games are being played, and presently the family courts are heavily in favour of the woman, and so that's one they keep sprouting, that women, look, what's in it for me? I go work, produce, and bring in all the money, have kids, and she just sits at home and does nothing, ungrateful, and in the end files for divorce, and I lose everything. all the assets, everything I've worked for, including my own children. So no, I'm not going there at the moment anymore. I'm not doing it again. And I'm going to warn other men not to do the same sort of thing. You don't want to end up like me, do you? And that's a very, very unfortunate situation. And why does that happen? Why does that happen? Because basically it comes down to people do not understand what they're getting themselves in for with marriage. And it is, no, don't get me wrong, if it's done the right way, it is of immense benefit. And men and women do belong together in society, because if you look at the societies where men and women are segregated, like in a lot of Middle Eastern and Muslim countries where there's segregation, well, the societies don't really work. You get so many issues. And you only have to look at, say, even certain workplaces where you can have a workplace full of men, there are problems. And you have another workplace full of women, there are other problems. However, when you have the mixing of the two, everyone just behaves themselves automatically. So you need that balance between the masculine and the feminine, the yang and the yin. And going back to Taoist philosophy, and that's how you achieve harmony. And that is correct, and it's been proven that you just have to see the workplaces, and that proves it to you right there and then. In societies, men and women belong together, and they need to be together and intermix. And so that was also how societies was founded on the foundations of society was marriage. And nuclear families bringing up children, mother and father bringing up children as the way it should be. And that's how, because that was the foundation of society. And without that, what type of society do you really have? It's not going to be anything that we've known throughout history. Okay, and look, I'm going to say a lot of people say, oh, that's even better if we change, but really? I really try that. You have a society where children don't belong to families and so forth. I mean, China tried to do that. I think it was in the 60s or 70s when they tried to cut the bond, dissociate the bond between children and the parents alone. Even that, when you see the children beating up on their parents, and the children belong to the state, what type of society was that? Have a look there. And so we're saying, and this is why I'm here, because I can see that this is what it is. I mean, the marriage and the family at the moment is being torn from so many sides, and there's nothing out there that's really supporting it, other than a couple of religious ones. But people don't want to hear the religious overtones in it. So I'm saying, forget about religion. This is all about human nature and society. And marriage brings with it of immense benefit. This is the thing, if you've got the right partner. And what's the right partner? It's because both people go in knowing what it is and what they're supposed to do there. Because if you don't know what it is and what you're supposed to do, you're not going to do it. And it's unfortunate that we haven't been taught. Not by society, not by any media, or parents even. And I say even these psychologists that don't. And I have to say, even really Jordan Peterson, such a renowned, even he being regarded as a champion of conservatism and marriage and so forth, I find he's missed a big point as well. And that is that marriage is really a team, a partnership. You're partners in this life together. Okay, and just imagine doing a task on your own versus doing that particular same task with help from someone. You get it done quicker. It'd be easier on you as well. It's actually easy if you have that person also doing that task and helping you in that task. However, if they just there and just sit around while you do it, hey, what are you doing? I don't need you then. Then there's no point. Or they come and muck things up while you're doing it, and then you're better off on your own. You see? So this is the big thing. You're better off on your own than with the wrong partner, But with the right partner, life is so much easier. Everything end up getting a lot more done. Saying, if you you're doing some tasks, and with someone helping, you finish that task quicker, and then you can move to something else. Imagine the amount of work you're able to complete in one day is far more than you being able to do it all yourself. I'll say even more than double what you'd normally be able to do. You're thinking, okay, one person can do this amount, so with the other person, you'll be able to do double the amount. Well, it ends up being more than double. It's just like having both hands versus only one hand. With one hand, the amount you do is less than half than you do with two hands, isn't it? You can try it yourself. Just tie your one of your hands back to behind your back and try and do something on your own. Less than half. Once you have the second hand, even the left hand that's weaker than your right hand, your dominant hand, you'll be able to do more than double what your one right hand can do. And this is what I tell men. You think of that on your own, and this is what, regarding these MGTOW men, because they've had they've been through bad relationships where their wife or their former partner did not help them and was a hindrance, or even just sucked the life out of them in terms of taking, then of course you're better off on your own than that. But what they really miss is the whole benefits of an active partner would have brought in. And this is where the issue is. I mean, they've sworn off women because they're saying, women, because it's a response to basically modern feminism. Women, modern feminism teaches women to take and be self-centered and so forth. But you cannot do that in a marriage or in any partnership. You have to think of the other partner as well, and even put others before you. Imagine having to put your kids before what you want, their well-being. No, you just can't get up and go, because what about their schooling? Okay, you can't live in that beach far away and just holiday for 3 months of the year, because you're going to have to take them out of school, things like that. Lo and behold, they're holding you back from traveling around the world because of their schooling or their friends, because children do need stability in their life. Okay, and so I guess this is the MGTOW movement was born out of feminism. And so because they're very extremely hostile to women and marriage, and their motto basically, use them and leave them, have them for sex and enjoyment, but nothing else. And there's whole YouTube channels and forums and websites telling men to do just that, how to get the most out of women without giving back as little as you can in return, and no commitment. So they're saying that women are all the same now, so don't bother. Okay, and so it's just like, I guess, the male version of feminism in its effect. Staying away from marriage, and feminism teaching women to stay away from marriage. Very unfortunate both sides do not get it. And, it really comes down to these MGTOW men. They've never experienced a good relationship. And that's why they blame the women, saying they're all the same. But the issue is, I have to say, they don't know how to choose. Okay, I've made that comment and I've been attacked and criticized by that. They said, how can you say they were all nice before when I married them, but after I married, then totally changed. Okay, this is one thing. People do put up a face and a mask and saying about how nice they are, because they want the relationship to work. And like I previously said, because more women are more intuitive, they want the relationship to happen and work, and they want the marriage, they want the proposal. And then afterwards, then they can let their guard down and go back to being themselves, because as you know, it's not easy being something that you're not, and it takes up a lot of energy, and you get tired of doing that. And you can only ever be happy if you're able to be yourself. And so then they go back to being their true selves. which then the men say they've been tricked. To an extent, I'll say yes, you have been. However, you did not choose properly still. You can say, but you did not choose the nice girl. And they say, oh, but they were nice in the beginning. Sure, they were. However, there's a couple of avenues you can do. One is you can get a relationship analysis reading done. And this way, they can't lie. You cannot lie in that respect because it goes by their date of birth. You just need to provide the date of birth and the time of birth as well if you can get it. You might not have to tell them what it's about, or you can tell them what it's about, what it's for. And they might feel very uncomfortable. They're people, especially if they put on the mask, they might protest and say it's not necessary, don't you trust me, or so forth and so forth. And it's up to you whether or not you tell them. But like if it's with me, I do relationship analysis readings as well. And no one can lie through that because someone can actually add value to your life, do nothing, or drag you down or change you, which you do is not a good idea because you naturally have to be yourself. It's just like, you have someone asking someone that they're doing astrophysics, studying that, and ask them to, can you go and and be a mechanic? And since you're so smart, change that tire. They may not be able to do that because it's not them, and so forth. This is what it is. You have to be able to be themselves, and your partner needs to either reaffirm who you are, or if there's an issue in your chart, their chart deals with that and takes that away, nullifies that, and then because they're with you, your career takes off or your business takes off or something like that. However, what they can also do is they can add nothing. They can address they don't have any effect on your chart, or they can exacerbate the situation, make it worse, your issue worse, or they can create an issue for you by changing you to something else. So those are the people that you want to avoid as well. It's not just about whether or not you get along. Though the more common, and this is the thing, people with an odd combinations together, they have the attraction, but you have to look behind that, whether or not it's true love and a true combination, or whether or not it's just lust. So in that way, you get a relationship analysis done that will look through whether or not this is just a face. And they're just pretending to be nice to you. And that you can book a reading with me on my website, missdragonfly.com. So we'll go to some music and we'll be right back where I would actually still go through the MGTOW and what men need to do in order to avoid that situation and get the right partner. That would help them immensely in life. Now, how can we make marriage great again? As I'm speaking at the moment about the issues with MGTOW men. And just a reminder, MGTOW is short for men going their own way. And they're saying that, women are all the same, self-centered, selfish, give nothing back, and so forth, and so forth. And that's why. And you know what? If that's the case, if someone is like that, then by all means, give them a miss. However, one big thing that they, and I guess a lot of people don't consider, is what you actually need when you choose a partner. Just think about it. In almost every purchase we make or decision we make, we firstly think about what we need first and then go and get that according to our needs, don't we? You might think, even with clothing, we're saying, okay, it's going to be pretty cold. I need a certain jacket that would be either obviously going to be long sleeve. Then I need it to be a certain length for this and such a purpose. Or I need I need a new car for this and this purpose. So if I need to go around the bush, I'm going to need it to be strong and be 4-wheel drive and so forth and so forth. Then you go look for that type of car that will fit in with your requirements. And this is another thing imagine you had a business and you were going to employ someone. You had a position open, you had a job, a certain task that you need done. So you think about the tasks that you need done, and then you think about the person, and then you think about what type of skills the person that you're going to employ needs to have in order to be able to do all those tasks. And then you go and select that candidate. And of course, when you look at their resume or CV, you look at what they've done in their past history and what skills they've got. And certainly when you interview them, you check and see if they've got the skills to be able to do that job for you. And add a bonus, of course, that you know normally you like them as well. But and so you employ them, and then they should be able to do the job and see if they've got the skills, and then that'll turn out well. However, what if you employed someone just because you liked them, without considering the skills that they need to do and whether or not they can actually do the tasks that you need for that position. So if you just employ them just because you like them and it ends up being a disaster because they don't have the skills to do the tasks that you need, then can you really complain? You knew that beforehand, didn't you? And then you still employ them just because you like them without considering whether or not they can do those skills. It's the same thing with choosing a life partner. However, there's a very big difference because the employee, if they stuff up and if you've chosen incorrectly, the most that they can affect is your business. Okay? They can, or certain parts of your business, if you're lucky, if they're only in charge of that one area. However, the life partner that you choose affects every facet of your life. This is the most important decision you can ever make. And people do not understand that. So they don't give the gravity of this decision and the importance of this decision that it needs to be. And I'll have to say almost no one, when they consider who they're going to be in a relationship with, and especially who they marry, whether or not that person can do the tasks that they need their partner to do. Because if you just marry them just because you like them without considering it, and if it turns out to be a disaster, then can you really complain? And this is what I say to the MGTOW men. When you chose that woman, when you married that woman, did you really consider whether or not she had the ability and also the willingness to do all the tasks that you needed done? Seriously, MGTOW men? And I think that almost none of them have. I'll be surprised if any of them had. Do you consider what you need in a partner first? If you do, you need them to cook. Do you need them to manage money? Or you needed them to also work to bring in a second income? Okay, or if you wanted children, how good are their mothering skills? And how much family is important to them? And that is especially so if you are close to your own family, if they are the type. Okay, and then you can a famous one I can point out there is Prince Harry. Look, his entire life centers around his whole family. He's part of the royal family, and that was ever since has been his bread and butter. It's what puts food on his table and a silver spoon in his mouth. Literally. And he married Meghan, which she has, ostracized from her father. She has no family connection. She just had the only family member that turned up at her wedding was her mother. You can say that she's had issues with her father's side, but what about her mother's side? No one from her mother's side even turned up at her wedding. Only her mother. And what does that speak to you about? And even though her father, which she lived with, was raised by her father, not her mother, is a little unusual, and is paid for all her education and so forth, And in return, he's living in Mexico with heart issues, and she doesn't even speak to him. So a major red flag. And what do you expect? So she's discouraged him to be close to his family, and basically convinced him to trash his family for money. I know there are a lot of Megan fans out there that would disagree with what I said, but I'm just looking at it at the way it is, and I don't know how you can explain it other than that. Okay, but that's an example that you need to really consider. Okay, so what are the things you really need in a partner for a man that would help you? Because I tell you, doesn't matter how good you are, you have one set of skills, one set of way of looking at things, and you can only ever be one place at a time. And no matter how good you are, you cannot think of everything. No one can do that. Otherwise, you're not human. or physically be one place at a time. It's just if you're so involved in your work, there's other things that you miss out on or overlook or don't have time for. Society now has gotten more and more complicated. You have to deal with so many issues with the banks and so forth. And now, your mortgage and don't even think about, being on the lookout for scammers. Now it's a big thing with your money and people's bank accounts and scams and so forth, but also obligations you have with reporting obligation, lodging tax returns, little things like that, or looking after health insurance or the mortgage and so forth. You can be overwhelmed by that, and you're already working a full-time job and all the little things. If someone told you to go and buy health insurance for yourself, would you know where to look? Even you can start looking, but do you have time for that? You need someone to do all that. And I have to say, women are far better at administration and doing all the admin roles and jobs. That's why there's so many of them are secretaries and receptionists, and so they're very good at looking at the finer details and so forth. And that's why I say they're primed to be in charge of all the administration in the household, if they're not going to be the main breadwinner. Okay, then it should fall to the other person that earns less than they do or doesn't work to do all the admin tasks. And that is what it should be. And so it's a very important thing that both parties have to know that this is a partnership. You are being a team. And so you do this job and I do that job. We consult with each other, just like building a house. You have a carpenter and a plumber. Carpenter does this job because he does it really well. That's his speciality. And the other partner does this job, and because that's her speciality. Or it could be the plumber. So the plumber does well in plumbing. They'll tell each other where they're at and the overall plan, what it's going to be. But they're not going to sit down with the other person and before they start any tasks, the plumber asking the carpenter, okay, I'm going to install the toilet in this way. What do you think? You think I've done it right? The carpenter would have no idea, not his forte. Or the carpenter, before he puts up the frame, as he's putting up, asking the plumber, do you think I should put it up this way? You think that's right? The plumber is not going to know as well as the carpenter. So let them do their jobs and have the confidence in each other that they can do their jobs well, but consulting in with each other. And this is one of the big things is that both parties have to understand that this is a partnership. So this is one of the things that before you choose someone, you have to speak to them. Okay, about do they understand that this is a partnership? And you look at what do they bring to the table. This is very important. Do they have any skills that would help you? Okay, and think about what you need in your life. If you are someone that is so focused in their career, you don't have time for anything much else. You need someone with the skills that would be able to handle all the admin and so forth. But that's what I find a lot of men need, is someone to handle all the administration. And on top of that, if they can't cook, the partner should be able to cook. Now, this is one big thing that unfortunately I see a lot of women nowadays saying that they can't cook, and it seems to be they carry it like a badge of honor, like they're proud that they can't cook, like they're not bound by the traditional gender roles. They're worth more than cooking. But hello, that job needs to be done. Someone's going to need to be able to cook. Otherwise, it's just takeaways and restaurants. And one who can afford restaurants all the time and eating takeaway food, how long can you keep eating it before, one, you get sick of it, and secondly, you develop heart problems from it or health problems from it? Because takeaway food is not healthy. Because the whole point of the takeaway in these businesses is to make the food taste delicious, so you keep coming back for more. And it's fine. It's a business, and that's what they're supposed to do. They're not there for health reasons. Okay, looking after your health and so forth. That's not what their job is, to feed you and get you to come back. So, do you want nice meals? So your partner needs to cook. So being able to do the admin roles, being able to cook. Now, what else do you need? Do you want to have children? Would they be a good mother? Okay. And from that, you can see if they have maternal instincts. Are they caring in nature? Okay. And talking about caring, you have to consider, if something happened to you, you got ill or you had an accident or something and you can't work, what would happen? Normally, if you're on your own and you're paying all expenses, you are really, really in the doldrums. Yeah, people go into poverty and get hit financially or go bankrupt. A lot of people, when illness happens and they don't have a fallback position, either they don't have sufficient savings or they don't have anyone to help them during that time. And that's when, if you have a partner and they can step up, we try to bring in more income, or if they were not working and they go in and start working and take over a couple of other things, then it's such a help, such a relief. They don't have to bring as much money as you normally do, but at least it's something to keep you both afloat. Just imagine the case like if you injured your right hand. Okay, then normally what people do is then their left hand takes over and just does most of the work. Now, your left hand doesn't do a good a job as your right hand. It's particularly only on its own. But then you tend to train your left hand to be able to take on more tasks and things that it normally isn't able to do. Then use a mouse, write, type with just one hand, and so forth. But if it's able to do that, it helps you a lot. It's not as good as just the right hand, but until the right hand recovers, then it can go back to work, so to speak, and be usable again. It's just like that instance. If you have a capable partner that can do that, it's of immense help. It saves you from a lot of things. So are they willing to step up? Are they capable of stepping up if that happens? And the other thing is very important, how family oriented they are, especially if you want a family, because that would show whether or not they'll be a good mother. So, I've heard of horror stories where women treat themselves with this and that, holidays, the best of everything, while the kids get very minimal or half-starved. They're half-starved and half-clothed. That is terrible. That type of people, that type of women should never have children. She should not have children. So please do not choose those type of women. And there are a lot of ways that you can pick. You can choose, especially in your dating stages, that I will cover in a later show. Now, the other thing is your attitudes to money must match. Otherwise, it cannot work. If you have a spender and a saver, it will never work, people. Forget it. Forget trying to even say compromise. Okay, both savers and both spenders, fine. No arguments there. It's just that both spenders, there will never be any money around because it's all been spent. Okay, and the reason why it doesn't work with a spender and a saver is because it's going to hurt you. If you're a saver, you see all that money that's being spent the way that is very uncomfortable for you, you're not used to, you're going to suffer. Because either one, you've had a hand in earning some of that money, or two, you have a vested interest in that money because it's for your future together. It's a joint, you're in a team, you're in a marriage, you're sharing a life. And for the spender, having a saver, living with a saver, it's really frustrating. You know, you feel constrained. You're not able to spend what you naturally are. And that's suffering for you. So you both end up suffering. And so why do you insist on a relationship where you both suffer? There's other people that are better suited for you. Saver should be with a saver. And you never have to go that. And the thing about compromise, that you keep hearing compromise. And so the spender spends less and the saver be willing to spend more. Okay, then what happens? Then neither of them are truly happy anyway. It's just the amount gets less. And so it's kind of like the suffering gets split. Okay, instead of one person doing all the suffering, we'll split it in half, so we'll share the suffering each. And why do that at all? When there's with someone else that's like-minded, you don't have to suffer at all. Okay, saver with a saver, yeah, they'll probably build a castle with all the money they've saved. Spender with a spender, they have heaps of things in their house, no money in the bank account, but they'll have heaps of things that they find enjoyment out of. And so if you are thinking of your financial future, then it's so important to choose someone that's like-minded. Okay, you might or want to indulge that person. That's every once in a while and they appreciate it. But this is the main thing, is that not everyone that takes care of their own money would take care of your money as well. So their goals, financial goals, need to match yours, because once you're married, then it's a joint thing. And there's a lot more in terms of finances with the spouse. Now, one of the things that would make marriage great is both parties or both partners actively contributing to their life together and building the life together. And says that's what both parties, both partners need to understand when they're getting into marriage, because this is a partnership. It's a partnership in life. And so one of the things how you better your partnership and build the life together is, of course, accumulating resources and assets so you can retire well and comfortably. Because one of the big pressures on marriage is financial pressure, believe it or not, because on every survey about divorced couples, finances and money are right at the top of the list. Okay? And during every recession, divorce rates go up. And why is that? Because financial stress is really toxic, and it's very, very toxic. And when people are under financial stress, they're not fun to be around, and you're snappy. When you're under stress, you're not happy. You're snappy, and so things get easily triggered. Like arguments are easily triggered when you're under stress. And so, can you imagine the arguments happening? So, fine, I'm leaving, and so forth. And that's why divorce rates happen so easily during times of financial stress. And recessions cause that. So, to ensure and give the marriage as good a chance as we can, we have to try to alleviate as much of financial stress and try to avoid that as we can. So, and that means you have to build your fallback position in terms of finances. Now, it's one thing to earn the money. The other thing is to keep it. Okay, so men, if you can think of the analogy, think back to caveman times. You're out hunting. Okay, you spend your whole day tracking the animal and hunt and bring it home. Okay, what happens when you bring it home? Then you've got to skin it. You've got to skin it, and then besides just eating it the meal that day, you've got a whole lot left over. It cannot keep. Either you try to eat it all and waste most of it, or you can have to do the drying and the preserving of the meat to save for another day. To save for days when, because you don't get it, you may not be able to get a kill every day. Okay, and what about winter and leaner times when there's not as much game around? Then you need to fall back to that. However, when you're spending time doing the skinning and preserving, it takes time out from your hunting. So while you're doing that, you can't go out and do more hunting. So then you kind of like have to skill yourself up on how to skin and preserve hides properly, tan hides properly, and also doing the preserving. So you can't bring any more while you're doing that. However, if you were there being the hunter and bringing it home and you had someone to do the skinning and the preserving, that takes up a lot of weight off your shoulders, because you can only do one thing at a time and physically be only one place at a time. If you've had someone else who's doing that job, skinning and preserving, then you can devote your entire time to doing the hunting. So you'll be able to bring in far more game. And not only that, because you're doing that all the time, you get even better at it. So you specialize in that. And the person, your partner at home, that is back at the cave doing the skinning and the preserving, because they're doing that all the time, they get even better at it. And so what happens? You get a lot of stores in winter, and also being able to bring in even more. So it relates back to modern life. If you're out there doing your business or in your job, the more you spend your time doing that, if you can just focus on that, you get even better at it. And so you can bring in more money or progress even further in your career by doing that, be able to devote all your time to doing that. However, you also need someone to look after all the admin and do all the saving as well. And if she's even more capable, to be able to grow it. Just think, if like back in caveman times, you bring home your kill, and your partner doing the skinning, preserving, and able to utilize every part of the animal. How would you feel? You feel like your efforts were not wasted. It's just like modern day. If you're working, you're bringing home, and your partner just wastes the money buying frivolous things, how would you feel? You wouldn't feel very good, would you? And you'd not feel like you were appreciated, would you? But if she was frugal and able to get the best deals and spending what's appropriate, okay, and there's still money left over from that, you feel great. You feel like you were appreciated, and the money you brought in wasn't wasted, so you would not mind. Keep doing that job. And you know what? If she was more capable in the caveman times, she'll cut a piece of the meat from what you brought in and go out and use that as bait and fish. That is it, and even bring in more. So how does that relate to modern time? If she's able to save enough by managing the household finances, then if she's more capable, she can grow the money by knowing how to invest and doing the investment. And so, on the one hand, you're busy. You can spend all your time on your career or your business, bringing in more money. Just specialize in that with the knowledge that, it's also being saved. Someone's looking after it and growing it, because you do not have time to do that. Yeah, you can only either, being devoting to your job or your business. You don't have time to look at investments and so forth, and attend seminars and finding out the best deals and so forth. You don't have the time. And this is why, like I say, you don't necessarily, unless you need to, you don't need a second income. What you need is someone doing all the admin and the investing. It's just like being a hunter. You don't need a second hunter. What you need is someone doing the skinning and the preserving. Okay, if you have two people just doing the higher hunting, bringing more game, and so forth, but You just eat where you can only get to enjoy whatever you bring in because there's no one to do the preserving for later. And so it's just like modern times, two people just doing the earning the money, and just, yeah, you party and live it up. But no one actually watching out for your savings and even growing the money. So while the money's coming in, you get to enjoy it. But what happens when either of you loses their job or a problem with either of you or both of you? Nothing to fall back on. So it's like feast or famine. Well, it doesn't need to be feast or famine because feasting is great, but famine comes, it's a big hit in the gut, both being hungry and also in the gut in other ways as well. So I guess though, look, to be realistic, at the times now in today's society and economic conditions, it's hard to get by with just one income. Yeah, you need two incomes. Okay, and how that would be translate to caveman times. It's like when game is scarce, and so then you need a second hunter to be able to cover more ground and to find more. Yeah. However, even with two people out working, it's still normally one person earns more than the other. True. And so the second person's income almost becomes like a supplementary income. And then that person can also take on the role of being the administrator of the household and the money as well. And so for men, think about what you need. If you're being honest, like most people, they need someone to take care of the admin, take care of the cooking and so forth, if you want decent meals and a clean house. And also being able to administer the money, okay, and even grow it if the woman is more capable. This is the thing in traditional Chinese society. A good choice for a husband is a good provider. A good choice for a wife is a woman that's frugal. She does not waste the money that her husband brings in. You can criticize all you want and saying Chinese are so money, all focused on money. It's all about money. Why does it have to be about money? Well, a large majority of divorces happen because of money. So you have to deal with that issue if you want the marriage to work. And you know what? Money represents a lot of things. It's not just money in itself. It's just like how generous someone is with money, is they're also generous with their heart. It's an indication of them as a person. And how wasteful someone is with someone else's money shows their disregard for the other person and that they do not value the other person's hard work. See, so it also comes down to respect. Okay, and if the woman is frugal, her husband looking at that, he should be respecting her for that. She's taken care of me. She values my efforts and my hard labor as well, but not to be wasteful. And as a man, you feel great, and then you don't mind continue to do it, and especially if she's able to grow it. She's able to invest and grow all that money, and she's being frugal with it. So how would you feel like that? You feel like you want to earn even more. You're doing so well. Here's some more. Keep doing. Here's some more money. Keep doing it. And so that's how working with human nature, how you get your partner to strive to earn more money, because you're managing the money that he's bringing in. He can see that it's being managed so well. This is all human nature. And this is how great having a partner that's in line with you and also capable at the same time would help you so immensely in life than being on your own. Okay? But like I say, you're better off with the right partner than on your own, but you're better off on your own than with the wrong partner. So in a way, I get what MGTOW men say if they've encountered all these women that are basically only there to take advantage and are selfish. And so they're rightly to stay away from them. However, they don't understand the enormous benefits that the right partner working with them can bring. It just not only enhances their life, improves it as well, financially as well. And that is so important. The women are out there, you have to find them. Okay, but you first have to get into that mindset of thinking of recruiting. I wouldn't say recruiting. Okay, the analogy is recruiting and employing the right employee for your position. And this, you're finding the right life partner to fill that position, to go through life with you. So to do that, first of all, you have to think about what you need your partner to do. The task you need your partner to do, and then you go look for the woman with those skills to be able to do it. Okay? Not just the skills, the right attitude and understanding as well. She has to understand that this is a life partnership, a partnership in life. You're a team and you need to contribute. So men, you have to look at what she brings to the table. What skills does she have? If she's been a lawyer, okay, and you're in business, she should be looking at the contracts that you do, adding that bringing that skill to you, looking at your contracts, looking at commercial law, and so forth. That enhances you. Or she might have tax knowledge, and so forth. And all of a sudden, you've had all these years of study and experience in that area, or at your fingertips, and working for you as well. Because in your business, this regulation, that regulation, things you have to look for, if you paid superannuation or what taxes and so forth, and how to structure your business to take advantage of all the tax breaks and minimize your taxation. Or, if your partner has legal experience, legal knowledge, and how to avoid certain pitfalls, avoid being sued, and so forth. But even if you're just in a career, your partner can look after all the other little things. Like if you've been purchasing property, can they do conveyancing as such? If not, they have the legal training to look behind all the regulations in terms of this zoning or that zoning, or even tax. If she's got tax training, when you're purchasing property, investments, it's all sorts of taxation implications, how to structure it correctly, to take advantage of all the tax concessions and so forth, or the things you meet. Lots of things can be done. Now, one thing I have to say is a lot of people get attracted to artists. Either they're very good visual arts and painters, or they sing very well, or the musicians and so forth. That sort of thing, yes, it's enjoyable to be around and listening to all that and so forth. But, okay, they're a singer or they can paint, very nice artworks and pleasant to be around. However, in your life together, what can they actually do? You can sit by and listen to them sing every day. Okay, but what else can they do? Can they cook, or can they bring in any money? Okay, we can say, they might be able to sell one of their art paintings or so forth, or get a gig and sing at some club or pub. But really, would that put food on the table? And if something happened to you, can they take over? So I think, do they have any practical skills? I mean, can they look after children? Okay, do they understand anything about finances? And often than not, I find artists don't, because a lot of thing with artists, because the reason they're able to be creative is they're separated. They're different from the mainstream society. The way of thinking and so forth. That's why and how they're able to think outside the square in order to be creative. But then, in that respect, they're in their own little world. And so it's very hard for them to gel with the realities of mainstream society and all the things that you need to do. So think again, if you marry an artist, you marry a singer, that's what you get. Marry a musician, that's what you get. Their life is all about music. They might travel for music and that's all. You can't expect them to, you might want them to look after kids and be involved in this and that, but it's going to be very difficult for them. Because remember, what you marry is what you get of them. They're a musician, they're going to stay a musician. You can't then want them to go change the tire or, being able to host a dinner party, gets everything set up. If you're a businessman, you can show off your wife paints, or it's a singer there at the party, but that's about it. Can she organize stuff, look after the mortgage requirements or documents, and so forth. There is a want and a need in life, and I see most people know what they want, but they don't know what they need. A few people actually know what they need, and that's what people need to think about, because what you need is an essential bit. What you want is, just as I say, the wants, they're extras that would be nice to have, but they're not essential, and certainly can't exist alone without the needs being met. So for people getting married, they really need to think about what they need, okay? Because feeling that is far more important. I know having an attractive partner is nice and so forth. It's a bit of an ego boost and a bit of something to show off a little bit, okay? But one thing is, beauty fades. And besides beauty, if you look at that, it's just the same as you have a really nice view. You might want to buy an apartment because of this and pay so much extra just because of this view. Even though it's in an impractical location and it's far from work or so forth, but it's just a really nice view. Well, after a while, the view becomes mundane because you see it all the time. The excitement and the hype of it just disappears, and then you start to feel all the inconveniences of that location, especially when you got to try to drive and commute to work every day, and it becomes a hassle. And that view then is not enough for you to put up with that. And plus, if you keep seeing the same thing, you get jaded all the time. So beauty is also, it's a nice bonus if you get it on top of everything else that she brings along, icing on the cakes and so forth, but you should not use that as a barometer or even a major or even a big consideration or even much of a consideration. I guess most people are okay if their partner looks at least average, but with all the other skills that she brings along. And then she's a gem. Just imagine if you can find someone that's able to cook, clean, be a good mother, be good with money, and bring in extra skill sets, legal training, or whatever have you that would help you in your business, and also be able to grow your money. You see, it's one thing that people can say, she knows she's a good bookkeeper. She's already a bookkeeper, so she should be able to handle money. I say no, because having the skills to do it doesn't mean you've got the right attitude. Because I've seen bookkeepers, bookkeepers for 30 years, and all she does with her bookkeeping skills is plan to and make sure she is able to go on a certain amount of holidays every year. Okay, try to structure things so she can have her holidays. So it really has to come from attitude first. If she doesn't have the skills or the knowledge, she can do a tax course or a business law course or whatever, provided she has the right attitude, and then just learning and doing the courses would be easy. But if she does not have that attitude, you can't really force someone to do that training. And even if they do have that training and those skills, she'll be making sure she uses it to her own leisure. Like making sure she goes on a certain amount of holidays every year. So that's one thing, men. It's a lot to consider, but I want to shift people from the mindset of choosing a partner just because you like them to choosing based upon what you need your partner to be able to do. Okay, and what your requirements are, and then choosing the partner that has the skills to be able to do that. That's very important. So one thing about wants, but really think about needs, because that's what is going to be pervading and determine how well your life turns out and what sort of type of life that you will have if your needs get met. So it's a lot to consider. Today we've looked over Adele, had a reading for her, and she's been very famous, very quickly. But she's really taken a step back. And also, I've gone through the requirements of choosing a partner. This is one thing. As a counter to feminism, you've had this MGTOW movement, men going their own way. And I have to tell men, you don't have to do that. Okay, if you know how to choose a partner. And I guess all men, like almost everyone, chooses the partner that they like rather than consider what they need and go to choose the partner accordingly. Just like what we do in every other aspect of our lives, that's what we do. We choose according to what we need. What function, we need the function, so we need to find something that would fit that. But we don't do it on the most important decision of our lives. It is who we choose to be our life partner, because they affect all aspects of our life. So I hope everyone's enjoyed the show and taken a lot away from that, because I want you to really think about that, because it's so important, especially to the people out there that are single and wanting a partner, or are already partnered and are looking to get married. Have a close think about whether or not that person can fulfill what you need, okay, to be your life partner. So let me know what you think. Every week I do post about what this week's show would be about, and so just leave your comments under that. And if there's anything you'd like me to cover, then feel free to state that as well. And if I'm able to, I will cover that. And that's the show for this week. And I will see you again same time next week. So until then, it's bye for now.